She was introduced to many of us on season 5 of RuPaul's Drag Race Turning Looks. She came back in All Stars 2 and didn't care if you can't stand her because she can't blame you. Her fashion is ahead of the game and she's not afraid to say how she feels. Her name is Detox and she's about to be exposed virtually. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, I'm excited to delve into a little bit of Detox's life, get to know more about you. So, you were born and raised in Orlando, Florida, right?
I was born and raised in Orlando. My father was with Lockheed Martin, and which is like a huge weapons developer for the Army and military, and he was an ex-military man himself. So we moved around quite a bit when I was younger. We really weren't in one place for that long. So I was born in Orlando, but then we hopped all over the country, really. But a lot of times we ended up being back in Florida.
That's kind of interesting too that you ended up hopping around the country, and then that's technically what you do as a job now, hopping all over the country in the world.
It's funny because I used to, like, when I was a kid, we stayed in so many hotels all the time. I'd always be like, I want to live in a hotel when I grow up. And now I do, and I hate it.
And I know that you had said in other interviews and things that you ended up moving in with your sister at like 15 or 16. Mm-hmm. And what is the influence that she has had on your life and also your drag career?
Well, she's always been my biggest inspiration in life, regardless, because she was always just so, like, when I was a kid, we're 7 years apart. So when I was really young, she was so fierce to me. She introduced me to Madonna and to like MTV and choreographed dancing, and always, like, she always knew that I was very flamboyant and that I was gonna be gay when I grew up, and she loved that, and she always nurtured that in me and made sure that I was fine even when I didn't realize what was going on with me. She always was there to kind of like, either allow me to explore my femininity and my queerness, or at least be there to be a support system. And then when I finally did come out of the closet when I was 15, I had already moved in with her. I was, high school was rough for any queer kid, but when you move around constantly, it's also very tough. And then when we were living in Arizona at the time. This was in 96 or 97, and my dad had like a midlife crisis and decided to move us to some small town in North Carolina where he's from. So that was very jarring, and it was the first time I had really experienced racism, like seeing racism up close and being called a faggot and like all these crazy things that I wasn't really used to. And that's kind of where I realized it made me realize how different I was and how wrong I was in the sense of their belief system. And so I finally had enough of that, and my sister took me in and kind of helped me come to terms with my sexuality, embraced it, helped me come out to my parents, really supported me, helped me flourish creatively. She's had a huge impact, and she still has a huge impact on my life. Obviously, we're neighbors. And
you said that she introduced you to Madonna. I know that Madonna had an early influence on your drag. What was your original name? Wasn't Detox, was it?
It was Dita, which was derivative from Madonna's erotica era. I was obsessed with that aesthetic and the look and the name and the whole the sensuality and like the just in your face, unabashed, like raw energy.
Uh-huh.
And I was just so drawn, and I loved the album, obviously. So I was so drawn to that name. But I was like 15, 16 years old running around Orlando and spraining my ankles, running up and down stairs at Firestone, and being a drunk mess. So people just started calling me Detox instead of Dita.
And what were gigs like when you first started out? Like, what was that experience like?
I used to start going out and drag mainly to get into bars. Like, it was just a way for me everyone thought I was older. My sister and I owned a business in Florida called Echo Exchange. It was a consignment store specializing in vintage clothing and local designers. So we would throw all these parties all over town, and people just assumed that I was, a lot older because it was, a college area that we lived in and the business was in. So everyone just assumed that, I was much older than I was, and I was definitely not supposed to be going into bars, but drag was a way for me to get in because people kind of recognized me and just assumed that I was older. And then when I finally found a couple of queens to kind of take me under really my gigs were being their bitch. I would carry my drag mother's bags in, and like anything that they needed me to do that was, they always knew that I was the wild girl. So anything that they needed me to do, I was down for, just so I could, you know, make a spectacle and cause, you know, have a name for myself, really.
That's
The first couple of gigs were very interesting. I didn't really start working like regularly, I don't think until like 2003.
wow.
So I'm coming up on 20 years, like fully working drag nonstop, which is wild.
That's crazy. And when did you end up making the move to California?
I moved to California in 2008, in January of 2008. I had ended a relationship in Florida. I was kind of in a funk. I didn't really know what to do. And my sister was graduating college. She was graduating law school. And she was like, I need help with my kid. You have nothing to do. You need to get your life together. Why don't you come out here and be a stylist? Or there's all kinds of things out here in California you can do. So I packed up all my shit and I moved. And I wasn't gonna do drag anymore. I was like, drag clearly isn't gonna go anywhere for me. You know, Drag Race wasn't on, so nobody really knew that the trajectory of everything was gonna happen. So my intentions were to go to LA and become a stylist. And for a moment there, I was doing that. And then I got the drag itch again and started doing little contests and random gigs in West Hollywood. And, you know, then we became the music video girl and all these other things started happening. It just kind of was like the right time, the right place, the right energy.
The
It
right.
was a very pivotal role moving to LA and my career and my trajectory for sure.
What's the comparison to drag like in Orlando compared to California at the time?
Well, in Orlando and in Florida and the South in general, it's very like your old school pageant drag. It's more about the art of female illusioning and illusion than it is about, you know, wild and crazy drag. I was much more of a club kid when I first started doing drag in Florida, but then I also was taken under by a lot of trans performers that were in Orlando, and so I had like this whole kind of like, I guess, balance between female illusioning and illusion and like crazy club kid wild, you know, 80s aesthetic. And I don't think anybody was kind of ready for that in LA when I got there. So I was kind of a hit immediately, which was amazing. And it worked out really great for me. Because in LA at the time, when I first moved there, Mickey's was shut down because they had just had their crazy fire. It was wild. There was like all kinds of craziness happening in LA, but also this really amazing energy. There was, you know, so many crazy parties happening downtown. West Hollywood was packed. Like there was a drag show basically every night of the week in West Hollywood. So it was really kind of, and I immediately met amazing friends like Morgan and Mayhem and Chad and Delta and like all the girls from Dreamgirls Review. We became really fast friends, and Rhea Latre was a huge impact of my career in Los Angeles. I love you, Rhea. So it was, I don't know, it was wild. And at the time, you know, Drag Race hadn't happened yet. And when I first moved to LA is when the buzz started happening with Drag Race. And then that kind of changed for everybody.
In around 2010, you end up in Kesha's Take It Off video. And that ended up, I mean, I still see you doing things with her, and she's talking about you in interviews and stuff. How did that friendship kind of form, and how are you guys today?
Well, we're great today. I mean, I honestly don't even remember how it happened. I just know that she was getting ready to release her first album, and they were filming a video for what was supposed to be her lead single at the time, which was Backstabber from the first album. And I believe that was going to be the lead single until TikTok happened. But so I got called from a friend of hers, Mark, who was like a big video director who did a lot of her videos. And he either found me on MySpace or I don't even know, but reached out to me and was like, hey, we're doing a video for this new artist. You know, she really likes your look. Do you want to come in and be a part of it? And so I did, and we hit it off immediately. And I remember telling my boyfriend at the time, I was like, that bitch is going to be huge, because she was so fun. And the music is so catchy, and she's, you know, she was so wild and crazy. There was nothing like that going on in pop music at the time. And look at her now. I think it's amazing. And we always, you know, anytime that I would be in LA or she would be there, we would get together and drink and get crazy and be kids and wild. And we're both still just as wild.
Yeah, but that's pretty cool that you have had, you know, this relationship like ongoing for 10 years, you know?
Yeah, it's wild. I didn't realize it was 10 years until you mentioned that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm feeling so old these days, like not knowing anything about electronics or anything. I feel like such a grandmother.
There's also a rumor on the internet that you ended up recording a song with her. Is that true?
We never recorded a song, but she called me one night. Well, I think we were both drunk, but she was in the studio. And she called me one night and had me just like say a bunch of shit on the phone. And she used it for one of her songs, Pretty Lady. So it's basically me just like yelling crazy shit about silicone and my body and saying that I'm a real woman.
Well, speaking of silicone, that was one of the songs that you had with DWV.
Ooh, I'm just pumped with silicone. We're just pumped with silicone.
Yes.
You're in a girl group with them, with Willem and then Vicky Box. I mean, I remember being in Atlanta at the time, and I was working at a gay bar, and Boy is a Bottom came on all the TV screens.
Take that! Take it!
I remember that was the first time I had actually seen like drag performers performing something like that was like their own music that like, you know, they like whatever parodied a song, but it was on everywhere. And then in my head, if Girl Is on Fire comes on, it's Boy Is a Bottom. It's not Girls on Fire.
It's ruined all of those songs for me. Every time I hear, I almost called it Blurred Lines, I can't help but sing our songs. Because they were really great. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was a really fun and wild experience, and we're all very glad. We're all in a really good place now, so we talk a lot now, which is really nice, because it's a huge departure from where we were years ago.
Yeah. When I was speaking with Willem, he had told me that when you guys recorded Boy Is a Bottom, I want to know if this story is true, but he said that
Detox went to sleep on Mark's couch, and then she went in, did her rap, one take, and then said, wait, I can do it better. And then did the second take. The first take is what we used, though. Like, she literally did one take, then she went back to bed.
Well, yes, that is true. But I wasn't tired. I was very hungover. And which, I mean, I guess I was tired, but I'm pretty sure Vicky picked me up at our friend Brandon Wild's house, where I ended up falling asleep at, and we had a crazy party. And Vicky picked me up when I was still wearing like my outfit from the night before, which was fuzzy pink hot pants and a lot of makeup. And that's how I went into the studio. But yes, I'm pretty sure I did get it in one take.
that's crazy. I think it's so cool. Like I'm very glad that you guys are in like a good place now. That's what, when I spoke to Willem, he said the same thing. He said that like it was kind of like a family situation. You know, you can have your ups and downs, but you all are kind of like in great places now.
Yeah, for sure.
I know that Willem also said to me that kind of what had led to the downfall, or what started to lead to it, was that
We're backstage, literally talking, Detox, Vicky, and I, before we go on. And Detox realizes she's not being paid, and we are. Because something came up. She was livid. And, you know, where do you put that anger? Yeah. You know, it's like one of those things where there were a lot of things going on. I am not free from blame, obviously. They are not free from blame. But we're better and older.
Is that true?
Probably a lot of the like logistic things I really don't even remember, because it was it's been so long, and B, it was really petty, like, you know, in the scheme of things. And I wasn't the one who was the most pissed off. I was kind of the middleman in the whole situation, even though there were things that were upsetting to me as well. But it was kind of this weird thing, because I was always trying to be, I don't know, like the peacekeeper. And then until I wasn't able to, and then it just all kind of like went to shit. But I mean, I'm sure that happened. There was a lot of, you know, it was a whole new thing that we were all trying to navigate that hadn't been done before.
Yeah, and it's basically like a girl group too, and everybody has different opinions on minds. Like it's so much I can't imagine. And then traveling around the world. Would you ever travel again with them, or would you ever do a reunion?
I think, I don't know. There was a while there that I was like, absolutely not. And I think now that we've come together and we've been talking so frequently, and we're like, oh, like it's been very nostalgic the last couple months, like going, like, just things popping up. And we recently just had the anniversary of the Chow Down video in March. And I think Boys of Bottom came out recently, a few years back. So it's all these like things that just happen like in your memories, and we're like, we just message it like, oh, remember how we did when we did this and how crazy it was. And I think it would be fun. I don't think that we could be able to do it as extensively as we used to.
For sure.
It was just a lot. And I also feel like timing is really important. And if we were to do it, we need to do it really, really well, because it's something that's been long in the making, and we want to have as much fun with it, and we want everyone else to really enjoy it and get the most out of it if it happens.
Exactly. So in the midst of all of that going on, and you kind of in a girl group and everything, you end up being on season 5 of RuPaul's Drag Race. Now, I had heard that you had auditioned every season until season 5.
No, I only auditioned 3 times.
You know what, internet, you're bad.
I know, the internet is always really bad. There's a lot of, I guess I need to go fact check Wikipedia now that I have all this time on my hands.
Put all the edit notes in there. This is not true.
Next, no.
So
I auditioned the first season, 3rd season, and then finally the 5th season.
And what do you think set you apart the 5th season from the 1st and 3rd compared to your audition videos and things?
I mean, it had been, 4 or 5 years. I had definitely grown a lot. I'd been on the road with Willem, touring with DWV. I think it was just like right timing. And I'm thankful that I didn't get on before, because, I was, season 5 is arguably one of the better seasons of the franchise. And it was such a fun experience to do it with so many people who I grew up with and who I knew so well. I knew about, I don't know, half of the cast going into it. So that was really, really fun and exciting.
That is really cool. Did you enjoy your experience in season 5?
I did and I didn't. There's, you never really know what it's going to be like until you're there. You hear all these stories like, oh, it's so different once you're there. And like, once you're there, you realize just how crazy it is. And, being sequestered for that long, away from not only the other competitors who are your girlfriends, but like just being by yourself. Like I could see my apartment basically from the hotel that we were staying at, and I would just like look out the window and long to go, just go sleep on my own bed. And I mean, now I crave that still. But it was a lot of fun. It was also a lot more nerve-wracking than I thought it was going to be. I had hives like half of the season just from stress, and I just wasn't, I don't think I was mentally ready for it. Mm-hmm. I think I was prepared for it, like physically and with all my shit, but I don't think I was mentally prepared for it. And I had like crazy stuff going on with personal stuff. Like my dad had just gotten sick. We weren't sure what he was diagnosed with. So there was like this huge tug of war mentally of me deciding whether or not I even wanted to do it, because I didn't know what was happening with him. So it was, it was wild. I'm thankful that I did it. I had a great time. Obviously, it worked out really well for me.
Of course. And do you feel that your relationship with Roxy and Alaska, and when you guys formed Alaska Talk, do you think that helped you in the competition? Or do you think that it hurt you?
I mean, watching it looks like it hurt us. But, to us at the time, we were just the smokers, and we were trying to find a way to escape the cameras and have like a moment of clarity and peace to ourselves. So, I mean, that's really how that came up, It wasn't to us at the time, and while we were filming, we didn't realize how it looked. Mm-hmm. And clearly it did look a certain way for everyone else to pick up on it.
But I think too, like at the same time, you said that you were going through some stuff during the time, and it must have been kind of nice to have a friendship in a setting that was kind of competitive, to where you could go to somebody, or you could have conversations that weren't necessarily like, I'm going to beat you in this,
Yeah,
challenge.
it was really, I was very, very thankful for Roxy a lot because she and I have known each other the longest. We've essentially started doing drag at the same time in Florida, in different circles, but at the same time at the same clubs. And we've always been very, very close. So she knew so much of the stuff that was going on with me prior to all this happening. Like she knew about my dad, she knew about my boyfriend, she knew about all of the things that, you know, I didn't really want coming out at all because I'm pretty private when it comes to those kind of things, and I don't like to have this exterior that's very hard. I don't like to be super you know, transparent with my emotions. I think being on the show has helped me do that a lot. I think it's allowed me to break down some of those walls, which has made me a lot more I don't know, great. But I was very thankful that she was there with me to help me in a lot of those journeys because they were very personal, and have that support was amazing.
That's really good. And then you guys proved it. You get to the top 4. You are this close to being top 3. And there's this rumor on the internet that I would love for you to say yes or no to. Is it true that once you got to the final 4 lip sync that they changed the song last minute?
Yes. Yes, but you know what? Even if, because I mean, I knew this. They changed the song from "Free Your Mind" by In Vogue to Malo, whatever. I can't even remember what.
Mambo number 1.
Mambo number. I always want to call it Mambo number 5, but that's wrong. And which is funny because when we were in our holding cells, essentially, before you walk into the workroom for the first time, there was this one queen who was just saying, like, because they give you your little iPads before you go in, so you don't hear anything, you have to listen to them. And there was this one bitch that was singing the whole time, like screaming, and it was Jinx singing that song. So when they switched it at the last minute, I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and pack, even though I already knew I was not gonna be making it to the final 3. It was still just like one of those moments where you're like, you motherfuckers, I get you, I see you.
Well, you turned all it around. You turned the attention on you for the finale with your fucking black and white. Like there you should have won there. Like that should have been like, you should have stolen the crown.
Well, that's why I did it. I said, if I'm not gonna win, I'm gonna win the finale.
And you sure did, because that's the moment everybody remembers.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because before I even filmed the show, I knew that's what I was going to do. There was this whole, in my head, like what I wore for the workroom when you first walk in was not at all what I was going to wear. I had this whole Patrick Nagel thing planned, and I was going to paint myself like a Patrick Nagel painting and show up looking like a Patrick Nagel painting, and I left my dress in my house when I went to go film. So when I'm getting ready the night before to get everything, I realize that the dress isn't there, and I have a panic attack, and I'm like, oh my god, it's already ruined for me. So my whole goal from the beginning was to start off as like a Patrick Nagel painting, and then end up like a film noir movie star. So I made sure that I was able to do that.
But that's actually cool that maybe that it wasn't meant to happen for that time, so then people wouldn't expect what the end result was. Like that was, woo! Still to this day, I still think that's, and then it inspired a season 8 challenge. Like, look at you. So you get out of season 5. What was life like after season 5?
It was wild, but it wasn't too crazy because I had been touring so much already with Willem and Vicky. So it was kind of like, as soon as I left touring to go film, I came back from filming and went right back into touring. So it was like, really, I didn't kind of miss a beat. I just kept going, and I haven't really stopped since until now, which has been nice. This is my first break really in, 7-8 years. So I don't know, it was wild, it was crazy. It was, because we were still on top of touring for Drag Race stuff. I was touring with DWB extensively for like the next, 2-3 years after that. So it was a whirlwind and exhausting, and I'm still not caught up from it.
You need more months on top of this to catch up.
I'm really cool with isolating for the next few months.
So after season 5 of Drag Race, you end up getting the call for All Stars 2. You end up doing that. Looking at that, your drag aesthetic changed a little bit. You like became more and more fashion heavy, and your looks were turning every single time on the runway. Like Katya said, like, you know, it was Detox runway and we were just there. Like that was like a quote from her. What really inspires your drag and your looks when you're putting things on? Like what is your creative mind like?
Well, I feel like the aesthetic is still, even though I think the aesthetic maybe was elevated for All Stars, I think that the core principles of the aesthetic were still there. Everything was a touch vintage, a touch 80s, like colorful, bright, body hugging, shape accentuating. All of my favorite, you know, I kind of want to be a really glamorous superhero aesthetically. And I think that, you know, doing something like All Stars was really able to like push that narrative more, especially like, you know, having the financial backing to be able to pull off a lot of that stuff. You know, I spent a lot of money going into All Stars because I was planning on winning, and you know, at least I won the runways.
Exactly.
But a lot of I don't know, I get inspired by everything, and I think, you know, being having this moment to be home. Right now, a lot of my creative energy is going into my house. I bought a house 2 years ago. I'm renovating the house. I've been working a lot on it the last couple of weeks while I've been here. So most of my energy is going there. And now, like, even thinking about drag aesthetics, I'm like overwhelmed. But I'm hoping that once the renovations start going, I can really, and once I get back on the road, traveling always kind of inspires me. You know, I've been spending a lot of time in Paris the last couple of years, and that's been really, really fun and inspiring.
That's so nice. Would you ever do any type of fashion line? Would you ever team up with a brand? Would you ever want to do something the way that Trixie and Willem and stuff are doing makeup? Would you ever do that for fashion?
I feel like that is kind of a natural progression. If, you know, what right now, because I am so home centric, like one of my big ideas is to do a really fabulous home furnishings line. But I also feel like that can go right into the fashion aspect of it, because you want to look glamorous in your glamorous house.
Exactly.
So I feel like, and there's things that are in discussion right now that I can't talk about, but things that are kind of all these moving parts are happening. Shout out to Trixie, available on Netflix.
But that's really great. Like, I think it's so cool that you guys, especially when you start creating a platform for yourself, you get to be able to delve into ventures that aren't necessarily drag, but it's still a creative outlet. Like, you know,
Yeah.
I see your passion, you know, as fashion, and your passion for the creativity behind that. And like, to me, it doesn't necessarily have to always, you know, be in drag, the fashion and stuff. It can be another outlet that somebody could end up buying, you know, that doesn't.
Right. Well, you know, drag has always been a part of what I do and who I am. I've been doing it for more than half of my life, and it's something that I love so much. But also, you know, there's going to come a time where I can't. I'm 30. I'll be 35 this year. My body hurts so bad, so I don't know how much longer I can shake my tits at gay bars. You know, so it's nice to kind of experience and explore different avenues in order to create a more sustainable career where I can focus my energies on those things, and then also go out and perform here and there, but maybe not live on the road all year long would be nice.
Yeah.
So I know that that's definitely a goal and an aspiration that I have. It's just finding the right people to connect with, and you know, luckily I've made a lot of really great friends in the industry that have an interest in helping me blossom and flourish.
That's nice. I mean, I think that your personality too, like you have a great personality. Like everybody, like I have friends who are like, you know, they were out with you in clubs like years and years ago, and when I told them that I was interviewing you, they were like, oh my gosh. So it's good that you have this demeanor and this personality that then can exude to be able to create friendships that can end up helping you out as well.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, that's what one of my things that I will never be humble about is that I have a pretty great personality, and I'm easy to get along with, and I'm easy to work with. And that's one of my big things whenever a new season comes around is welcoming the girls to the family and telling them not to be an asshole, because truly you can work forever if you are just kind and easy to work with. And it's a huge lesson that I've learned, and it's been you know, part of my core beliefs since I was a kid, because I've grew up really fast, and I grew up with so many amazing, legendary people in the community, in the drag world, and the female impersonation world, that showed me the ropes and taught me how to be respectful and to appreciate the craft and to put in the work and put in the effort and to be remain humble and kind. And I think that kind of work belief and that work ethic will take you anywhere in life, no matter what you do.
That's so true. And speaking on the friendship aspect, and back to All Stars 2, you're getting down to the nitty gritty in All Stars 2. And one decision that everybody was talking about was when
It shows Alyssa. I'm sorry. I can't sit home. I'm so sorry.
Do you regret your decision, and did you face backlash online?
I'm still facing backlash from it. At the time, I regretted it even doing it. Like, I remember in my head being like, I want to go change my lipstick, but that hadn't happened yet. And I didn't know if that was even a thing to do. And I knew it was her time, but there was also something in me that couldn't send her home, because she did really well that episode, regardless of however they showed it. Like, everyone did such a great job that episode, and it was such a difficult episode to have to do that to, because everyone was so great and everyone's family was there and everyone's morale was so up, and it was such an amazing and loving moment. And then to have to send somebody home was so awful, and I just couldn't do it to my best friend. There was just something in me that I could not do it. And I kept, like, in my head, I was like, well, Alyssa's already been gone. She hasn't been doing that well, blah, 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 blah. And I knew that Roxy was, doing poorly and probably should have gone. But I also feel like Alaska had multiple opportunities to send her home.
Mhm.
And it shouldn't have been my responsibility. I was like, this is fucked up. But I regretted it at the instant that it happened. I felt awful. But there's nothing that can be done, you know what I mean? And it's like, clearly Alyssa hasn't struggled from it.
Yeah.
She's blossomed and she's doing amazing. And that's why it's so frustrating when people are still, 3-4 years later telling me I'm an awful human being because I sent Alyssa home. It's like, it's a fucking reality television show. That's not even real. That's so highly edited. If you even knew the shit that these girls got away with during that season, it's ridiculous. So
well, speaking of the edit, I just spoke with Fifi, and Fifi said that she believes in her head, when she was in All Stars 2, that she was heavily edited once again for the villain edit. Do you believe that people can be edited to be more villainous or to be a certain type of way on that show?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I honestly, when I left season 5, I thought I was going to be Miss Congeniality. And then watching it, I was like, well, that's not happening, because they would take a lot of I have a very dry sense of humor, a very sarcastic wit, and they would turn that into me being a bitch, just with reaction shots. They paint a picture, and it's the picture that they want to be told, for sure. Now, with Fifi, there were definitely times, and when she's competing, she gets into a different headspace, and you can see it happening. And there were times where, like, things would be going on, and Roxy and I would be like, reel it in, because you're kind of giving them you're feeding them what they're going to use to turn into ammunition against you. So if you're giving them, and a lot of things that was very highly edited, some of the things didn't happen the way that they were happening, for sure. So I can understand why she feels that way.
So you're in the top 4. You have your iconic Reggie Rocio. One thing a lot of fans want to know is, what did you mean in your verse when you said
You can't stand me? I don't blame you.
Well, I get a lot of shit from people who think that I'm like a bitch or a cunt or too much, or that I'm severe, and they don't really understand it. And if that's how they feel, I can't blame them for feeling that way, because I am all those things, but I'm this.
When you left the show and before it ended up airing, did you think that you were going to win?
I thought I had a really good shot, because I know I did really well. Statistically, I was just underneath Alaska. I mean, obviously it was Alaska's game, for sure. But when there was like the controversy with Alaska's boyfriend at the time leaking a lot of things, that was an NDA breaker and a confidentiality agreement breaker. And when that happened, I was like, oh, well, there's no other winner because she can't win because she broke her contract. So that was, which I mean, whatever. It's, I would have taken a win by default. However, that's not the way that things happened.
Yeah, not at all. And
I guess start breaking more rules in life.
Yeah, was that disappointing though? Like that rules were broken and that they weren't adhered to?
I mean, to me, it was disappointing because it just, what's the point of having a contract if you're not gonna, if it's really gonna be pointless?
Yeah.
Because I could guarantee you, if anyone else would have done it, there probably would have been, some stipulations. But we all signed $1 million NDA in a contract, and I'm a firm believer in those things just because I have a legal sense of of business, and I feel like those things are in place for a reason.
Yeah.
It was unfortunate, but also she she was fucking amazing.
Yeah.
So it's like you can't deny the fact that she won.
But you were also fucking amazing. So at the end of the day,
Right.
couldn't deny if you won.
Yeah, but Katya was robbed though.
Oh, what? How did you feel about that and seeing that all over the internet? Alaska, when I was sitting down with her, she said,
Katya wasn't fucking robbed. Like, that's lunacy. First of all, I won the most shit. Second of all, Detox won the second most shit. So if I robbed anybody, it's Detox.
I mean, honestly, watching it was very interesting just because I knew how well I was doing, and it did not at all show how well I was doing. And that was frustrating to me because, it was almost like erasure of how well I actually did do. So of course I could say it until I'm blue in the face that I, killed it. But what everyone else saw didn't really show it that way. So, that's the unfortunate part about it. And that's the unfortunate part about reality television and especially reality competition shows. But yeah, I live in a beautiful home.
but speaking of your beautiful home, you're now in Chicago, right?
I am, yes.
When did you make the move and what made you make that move?
I moved here a little over 2 years ago. And, my sister lives here. She's been here for about 10 or 11 years. And slowly everyone kind of migrated up here. My mom was living here. She's back in Florida now, but my mom moved up here. My brother and his family are here. My dad was here before he passed. And so when he was living here, and he was getting a lot of his like cancer treatments and everything, I would visit obviously to see the family. And I fell in love with the scene here. The community here is really amazing. The drag scene is amazing. And as I said, I'm getting older. It's nice to put my money into a place that's going to be mine, that I can build and make my own and be close to my family. It's very important. The very limited time that I am home, I want it to be, very special. So it's nice to have a home base now where all of my, my siblings are and their kids are, and it's nice.
That is really nice. Do you like Chicago the most out of all the places that you lived?
I think so. I thought I was gonna miss LA a lot more than I do, because I really don't miss it. And that I think that was really eye-opening when I first moved here. Is that it was just it was time. Like everything happens for a reason. Everything happens at the right time. I'm very cliche like that, but I think it was definitely a step in the right direction for me. I feel a lot more grounded, which is really nice. It's the first time I've ever lived alone, which is very nice. So I don't know, I'm very happy right now here.
That's really good. That's really, really awesome to hear.
Yeah. Like I miss it when I'm on the road. I want to be home because I'm never really here. So it's nice.
So let's get into some current Detox. Now, currently, you were in an article back in January and you were speaking your voice and basically being very vocal about trans representation and drag race and on the show. What led you to speak your voice about the inclusivity?
Well, I mean, I've been saying it before I was even on the show that I want, because I grew up with trans performers. I grew up with, in this amazing realm of, the art of female impersonation and trans queens, and that's kind of what I grew up. Like, that's my drag world, and I feel like they have such an important voice that needs to be showcased and heard and represented. And they're such a huge part of the drag community, and the fact that they don't have a voice for the show is, you know, really disheartening to me, because so many of my girlfriends want to be participants, and you know, year after year they say it doesn't matter what you are, you know, you can be whatever you want to audition for Drag Race as long as you're fierce. Well, okay, there's plenty of fierce people auditioning every year, and there's plenty of not fierce people on the show. So, you know, I think it's just, and I know that it's not really my platform at all to like really speak on, but because I'm not a trans person, and you know, I shouldn't be speaking for them, but I can only speak from my heart and from my girlfriend's experience, and who confide in me about their desires and their wants to be on the show. And I feel like it's an important voice to be heard, especially with everything, you know, everywhere else is being so inclusive in the trans community right now, which is amazing. But there's also a large population of the trans girls that want to be a part of Drag Race, and that they're not really allowed that opportunity is, I think, disappointing, and I think a step in the wrong direction for a queer program and a queer production company. It's just mind-boggling to me.
Do you ever think that Drag Race will eventually have a trans queen?
I hope so, but you know, I've been hoping for 12 years. So it's really hard to say. I feel like eventually they're gonna have to start allowing more people on the show, because people are bored of it. People are getting tired of it. You know, if you just, I know that the show seems like it's getting bigger and bigger in the scheme of the mainstream, but when it comes to its core fans that have been there from season 1, a lot of them have lost interest and are really over the same shit. You know, they want to see more inclusion, whether it's, you know, ab fab queens or ab fab fab queens.
Ab Fab's a great show. I mean,
I'm running on like 4 hours of sleep. Forgive me. And femme queens and drag kings and trans queens and performers. You know, I think that it's, you know, it's time to be, let's let some other voices be heard for a change.
yeah. And speaking of another voice in mainstream media, something happened back in October that you were supposed to be with Monet Exchange and Nina West at The View for Meghan McCain's birthday.
Oh, yes, I was.
And you had a flight problem or whatever. Was there a reasoning behind your decision to ultimately be there in the first place?
Well, but the reason behind my decision to be there was I wanted to make a statement. So I had like this really, of course, I'm an asshole. I had this really beautiful trans pride dress made, and I was going to wear that to be, you know, to show some kind of solidarity and support for my trans siblings out there, and at least, you know, make some kind of a statement while being there. It's, you know, being a little bit cutting. And the whole time I was on my way, I was like, God, I really don't want to do this. I don't want to do this, just because I'm not a huge fan of Meghan McCain and her beliefs. And but I also was very unaware of all the hate that the girls got afterwards. Because I really don't follow what's happening with all the drama. I'm an old lady. I listen to my Anita Baker. I play my fucking crosswords on my phone. I watch my murder mysteries on Investigation Discovery Channel. I don't have time for Twitter bullshit. I don't have time to troll the Instagram to see what these girls are getting hate for. I don't care. So like, it was surprising to me to hear it, because I didn't find out until, you know, maybe a week or so later, and when I was working with Monet, and she was like, girl, all this hate I'm getting. And I was like, what do you mean? I had no clue. You know, I think people are just love to hate regardless. You know, I look at them being on The View as a huge step in the right direction for queer people. You know, regardless of whatever they were there for. Yes, it was Meghan's birthday, and she's a huge fan of Drag Race and drag queens, but, you know, she also has a shitty belief system, and, you know, is a wild gun-toting Republican.
Do you think as drag culture becomes more mainstream and we see it more on television and stuff, do you think that that will lead to, or has led to, more of a toxic fandom?
Well, I mean, our fandom has been pretty toxic for a while, and I think the larger we get, the more toxic it gets, obviously, because there are so many crazies out there, and there are so many people that are very big and bold behind their computer screens, and that's really all that they are. But the vitriol and the nastiness that they, expel on everybody, it's wild to me that just because your favorite didn't win or whatever, she did poorly in a challenge, that you have to go attack everybody. It's just I don't understand that culture, and unfortunately, it's like that everywhere. It's wild. Like I'll see it. Like I comment on Bad Bunny's. One of Bad Bunny's posts recently. I like commented something on it, and the amount of shit I got just for commenting on it, where it was like a positive comment that I left. People were like, "What are you doing here? Get out of here!" Like nasty emails, nasty DMs. It's wild. So like, we think that we have it bad, but real celebrities have it far worse. Trust me. But get a life, you guys. I'm sure they're all in heaven right now because they can't go outside and do anything, so they feel right at home.
Yeah, they feel right at home just behind the keyboard. Recently, another thing that has sparked a lot of talk in the community was you were seen in pictures and stuff with makeup guru Alexis Stone. And there was the rumors of you guys being in a relationship. Are you, or were you, or what should we believe?
I don't know. We are very much in love, and we have loved each other for a long time. And we're probably going to end up getting married at some point. We know that. Like, that's what we've talked about since we've met. We've known each other, I don't know, since, God, probably like 5 or 6 years now, maybe. Yeah, something like that. Maybe even longer. And the first time we met, we just like hit it off instantly. And, I've been enamored with him and he's enamored with me, and it's really lovely. Have we dated? Who knows? I don't know what to call us. So I don't really know. Ask her, because she's the one who's in charge of everything. Sometimes I feel like I'm her little social experiment, but I'm sure we'll end up together. Call her? Should I call her and ask?
Yeah, you should call her and ask. Be like, what are we? What is it?
The world wants to know what we're doing, baby.
She is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, I think that aesthetic and the prosthetics and everything now and that whole line, do you get inspired by things that, she's doing?
I'm constantly inspired by her because she's just so creative and wild and different and unabashedly herself. And she is so controversial, and she loves to be controversial. She does it for the sake of being controversial. And I just think there's something about her that is so wild and crazy and infectious. And she's also just one of the sweetest, most beautiful human beings too, which a lot of people don't understand and don't see that because it's a part of her that she doesn't really show often. So it's, I just think the world of her, him, Elliot, Alexis, whatever she wants me to call her, maybe.
I recently, I guess, past week, you put out a single, El Camino.
Yes, it's going to be available on iTunes soon. My sister's constantly making me work. We've had this song for a little while now. We were going to film a really amazing music video for it. Obviously, that's not going to happen now. So we figured what better way to, bring some positivity and enjoyment and light and creativity into the world than to have all of my fans and my followers and people who love the song be a part of a music video and film a bunch of TikToks. And like, there's all kinds of things that we're releasing in the next couple of days. We're just waiting for it to officially hit iTunes, which for some reason is taking a lot longer than it usually does. But you can stream it now on, I almost said Skype. That's how old I am. Spotify, you can stream it.
Stream it on Skype.
You can stream it on Skype. You can stream it on Spotify. It's called El Camino. It was produced by Ellis Mia, who produced a lot of my songs and produces a lot of Rue's songs, and it's really amazing, and it's really, really fun and wild and silly, and it's, I don't know, go stream it.
What do you think the biggest misconception of Detox is?
That I'm a bitch, that I'm unapproachable. I don't know. People always think people are very intimidated by detox, which I never really understand. I mean, I guess I could kind of see it just because the aesthetic is wild, and I'm very large and a big personality. But really, I'm just a teddy bear.
Looking at where your life is now compared to when you started on Drag Race on season 5, are you happier now than you were then?
For sure. I think I've grown a lot. I think, this whole move has been a very life-changing in my happiness realm. Putting yourself out there so much and being empathetic and, taking in a lot of people's energies. I'm like a super empath when it comes to that. So this can be very exhausting for me, traveling the world, and it takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of me, mentally and physically. So it's nice that I have a place to come home to now and to kind of really decompress and chill and be with my family and see my sister's kids and my brother and play with their dogs and feel like a human being. So it's really, it's a nice departure. I feel like it softened me a little bit too. So it's been, not that I needed to get any softer. I'm a huge softie. But you become even softer, if you can imagine.
But that's good. It's kind of like, you had your rise and you're being able to be this amazing drag queen touring the world and everything, but then the happiness that you love and that you admire, is your family and the people that are around you, the people that are the best.
Yeah, I feel like it's always been that way. And I think that the more successful I get and the crazier my schedule gets, everything just kind of gets put into perspective a little bit more. And you just kind of have to, find that happiness and whatever it is. To me, it's my family and being home. And, I'm sure for you, it's something different. And for whoever else out there is watching, it's something different. But you just have to make sure that you find that time for yourself and treat yourself nice.
Especially during these times. These times are crazy, and it's like.
Especially during these times, yes.
So what's next for Detox?
Well, next I'm hosting the. In about 20 minutes, I'm hosting a Facebook Live to watch the new episode of Drag Race, and then I have a bunch of shit to film after that. I don't know, because right now I don't know what's next for any of us with everything that's going on. So I don't know. Fixing this house. I'm filming a lot of the home renovations. So
that's gonna be really cool.
My goal is to sell a show so I can start, doing more home renovating and my passion and the art of home interior decorating.
So cool. Do you?
Kinds of things.
Everybody was asking about a pool in your basement.
Yeah.
Is that done?
Oh God, no. That's gonna be the last project. It's like $100,000 project. It's gonna be the last thing that's done. Which, I mean, right now it's funny because I had just finished doing Work the World and I put all my savings into renovations. Sorry, I got an email. So popular. I had just put all my money into all the renovations because I was about to go back on the road, and then the next day all of my gigs were canceled. So I'm trying to navigate that realm right now, and unfortunately my contractor is sick. So, which I don't think it's Corona, but I could be wrong. Who knows? So either way, he's not coming to my house. He's sick. He's gonna stay home and get rested.
You mentioned Work the World, and my question to you before we close all this out is, you guys were still touring up until the tip of Corona.
We were.
Were you worried at all?
Oh my God, petrified. We were basically begging to go home. It was really wild because we weren't, first of all, going to Australia in the middle of the crazy bushfire situation that they had going on. We were concerned with that. We also, there was a part of us that were like, we shouldn't even be doing this because there's clearly a lot of pressing things that are happening right now with the fires, with the spread of the virus, and but also it's kind of our responsibility to continue the work and to create some kind of levity for people. And so we did, And Australia was amazing, and then towards the end of Australia is when the virus started, going full speed. We canceled our Hong Kong show right away because of the government there shutting everything down. A few other shows were on the verge of being canceled, but ended up, we ended up going through with them. But it was definitely wild and a strange time to be on the road, because you could feel how palpable it was in those communities, which made us even more afraid, because we're like, why, if everyone's afraid to come to our show, why are we doing the show?
Exactly. Do you, when you guys do things like that, when something like that happens, do you have the ability to be like, I do not feel comfortable or safe and I'm peacing out?
Yes, you can I could have done that. A lot of us could have done that. But then there's also this, this guilt that goes into that, Like, I think a lot of us talked about it, and it was like, if it was like a whole group thing that was going to happen, like a whole revolt, then maybe we would do it. But we paid really close attention to the news. We paid really close attention to the spread of everything. And Korea was probably the most frightening, because we were in Seoul, and Seoul's huge, but there was major outbreaks happening in Seoul, maybe like 130 miles from where we were staying. But every 15 minutes, essentially, on our phones was an alert going off in Korean that none of us could understand. So we're all like, what's happening? So that was like, it was really scary. All of us are fine, that I know of, the ones that I really talk to.
Yeah, everybody's just all in their homes now.
Yeah.
So wrapping all this up, what would be a message that you could give to the LGBT community and your fans, whether it be them struggling to come out or to be themselves, or them just dealing with everyday life? What would you say?
Find your center and find your whatever makes you happy and feels home to you individually. Find that, hold on to that, and nurture that. Whether it's exploring art, reading, yard work, whatever it is, especially like in these kind of times where you have no choice but to like kind of be at the company of yourself. So, figure yourself out, explore your mind, and open yourself up to any kind of opportunity and possibility, and reach for the stars.
Reach for the stars. Well, thank you so much for being here, Detox. Thank you so much for being with me virtually and doing this. I totally enjoyed you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Well, I'm Joseph Shepard, and Detox, please plug yourself. Tell everybody where they can find you and what's next. Are you doing any shows or any places that people should be looking on the virtuals?
I don't have anything planned as of right now. Right now, I'm just working on my house and getting my shit together at home. But if you see anything that's happening with me on the digital realm of things, you can find it at theonlydetox.com or at The Only Detox on all social media outlets.
Boom, boom. And then what about your song? You said that, what are you doing for a video for that? Anything special?
Oh, yes. El Camino, you can submit your video submissions into theonlydetox.com. More rules are going to be coming out in the next few days, so stay on the lookout for that. We just have to wait for iTunes to fucking figure out what they're doing. But you'll see. There'll be a lot of news on my stories. Just follow my social media, and I'll be blasting it everywhere.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe, to like, to comment. What's your favorite part about this whole Detox interview? What did you love? What do you need more of? Until next time, if you want to see more of these, make sure to click the link for the Patreon below. And that's it, guys. Bye.